Some of you might have heard of a term before, market socialism. It's an oxymoron. It's every bit the oxymoron of libertarian socialism and democratic socialism. Market socialism is basically conflating an element of capitalism and, of course, socialism. Wikipedia tries to make the distinction between market socialism and that of the mixed economy. It states that the distinction stems from the market socialism being self-regulating. This is a complete contradiction. A self-regulating market, that's in relation to do with a free market, and a free market economy is defined around that of capitalism, because you can't have a free market and have communal ownership at the same time. It's a complete contradiction of everything a free market stands for. A free market means that you have, the people who are individually free. That's in relation to do with capitalism. What's individualism got to do with socialism? It's a complete contradiction. A free market would be that to do with private individual ownership and personal ownership of possessions. It's to do with individual ownership. Because when you're talking about the term market, you're speaking about not just business owners, you're speaking about free individuals, consumers, etc. Capitalism, you're speaking about trade. Capitalism is everything to do with trade. What on earth has socialism, and I've pointed this out before, what's socialism got to do with trade? The reason why socialism is a complete contradiction to do with that of trade. Trade is naturally unequal, and it's naturally to do with individualism. For example, individual countries have their own resources. Some countries might have more of a specific resource than others. You have to come to a consensual agreement in free trade to exchange. There's individual ownership even with countries. If a country might have something that you don't have and you might have something that they don't have, this consensual agreement takes place, and of course both benefit from the exchange. Social ownership of the means of production and social ownership in general to do with communal ownership. It's got nothing to do with one owning something that you don't have and you owning something that they don't have, a contradiction of their goal for egalitarianism, the equal distribution of wealth, etc. Because that's naturally unequal. And just like countries, some countries might have more of a specific given resource than another. So it's naturally unequal. When you go into a shop and you pick up a good and you hand over your money and you give the business something that they benefit from and you get something in exchange for basically the product that you've just bought, that is trade. That's capitalism. On one hand, they're saying that they can have their communal ownership and equal distribution of wealth, etc., etc. And then on the other hand, they're saying they can have this self-regulating, free market, which basically means individual ownership, complete contradiction, and have trade at the same time. Again, an historical example was the starving time. Individuals were not able to work for the fruits of their own labour. If one individual dropped their work rate by 50%, that person would get more or less the same as the rest of them, because everything that was to be produced was to be put into a communal pool in the name of equal distribution of wealth. Socialism, as I say, is the rejection of the market. Full-blown socialism's to do with economic central planning, because first and foremost, especially in the type of economy you have today, take for example the United States of America, trillions of different products, the size of the United States. Great Britain would be another example. You've got no choice but to turn to economic central planning, and you're trying to create an egalitarian utopia where you're not going to be able to achieve it with individual communes, because individual communes will go and do their own individual thing, and again you're subordinating individual preference. You have to sacrifice individual preference in the name of the collective, because again the market isn't just individual businesses and business people. It's to do with consumers. Are they now going to say that they can have consumers shopping around? Because again, that's a complete rejection of everything that socialism stands for. And the reason why they've resorted to this is because the economic calculation problem has completely destroyed them. It's destroyed their entire argument on socialism. So yes, market socialism is in relation to do with the mixed economy. It's not the rejection, it's not, distinct from that of the mixed economy. It basically is to do with the mixed economy, and socialists, as I say, would never accept this to do with a free regulating, self-regulating free market economy. Now there are examples, as I say, that back that evidence. Take for example rent controls. They would never accept market-driven prices. And this is another argument you go down the road of. The reason why they would never accept self-regulating free market-driven prices, which again is to do with capitalism, but they would never accept that because some things naturally end up in shortage and the price soars out of control. So what do socialists try to do about that? Again, they try to control the prices. It's the reason why in every socialist regime you end up seeing the price ceilings. For example, the rent control laws that created a shortage of housing in the market. And if they're not going to argue on prices, what are they going to argue for? They're going to argue down the road of a moneyless based economy. Again, you go down the road of the praxeology and of course the whole thing in the economic calculation problem. Market socialism is doomed from the get-go. If you're going to have trade, you're going to have inequality. You're going to have naturally to have individual ownership to a varying degree, because again the communal ownership's a complete contradiction of everything that stands for. If you've got any questions that you'd like to ask me on that whole thing and anything you would like to add yourself, comment in the comments section below. I would be more than happy to basically debate on the issue. And of course, thank you for watching, and I shall talk to you later. Cheers.